He's out expanding his vast empire today. So I brought in what I believe, I can't call them upgrades because Dr. Z is just great, but I will tell you, these are people that are at the same level. When they talk about you want people you want to listen to, you want to be in the room with. We have Miss Sharita Bent. How are you?
I'm wonderful.
And my incredible wife. I'm biased, but she's an incredible human. It's Miss Vanessa Clark. How are you?
Doing great.
All right, now we're talking today about a subject, these 6 principles to become an effective public speaker. The 6 principles to become an effective public speaker. You see, many of you are listening really either A, want to become an effective public speaker, or 2, you have to be. I'll tell you what, this is what happened for me at the DJ business. I started a DJ business, I'm growing the company, and I remember I hired a guy named Ezekiel. Remember Ezekiel, Vanessa?
I do. Mm-hmm.
He lived in my apartment complex, so I hired him.
Yeah.
That was the move. I was like, hey, you look qualified. You live here, right? Okay, great. He had like a big old Buick. Remember that Buick?
Yeah.
It was like
He was a big guy.
Big guy. So I hired him, and then pretty soon I hired Rich. Remember Rich?
I do remember Rich.
So we had Rich. You had Ezekiel. Rich Ezekiel. We had Josh. Remember Josh? And then Josh number
Smith,
2.
I'm like, I cannot forget
We had Josh Gamble. We got Josh Gamble.
Josh Gamble, yeah.
Yeah, Josh. So pretty soon there's like 6 guys. Pretty soon I'm out and talking to a group of men. And I am nervous because there's more than 5 of them. And you're like, you're a DJ. How is it nervous? Well, as a DJ, you're kind of cheating because you're behind a booth and you're talking to people who are usually intoxicated. So they think anything's awesome. And the more they drink, the better you get. So this is my typical DJ show. I'm like, all right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to the Yucatan Liquor Stand. I'm your man and your biggest fan talking to you about what? This mic and that drink in your hand. We got those $1 specials, $1 long necks. Go and check. And by the way, if you're over 40 and you're over 40 pounds overweight, we have an incredible volleyball tournament for you next weekend. It's called The Stand and Let the Ball Come to You Tour. It's unbelievable. It's changing the game. Wow. And people were like, he's so funny. And I would write it down and I would play music like something classy like boom, ba-dum, bum, 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 ba-da-da-da, bum,
Baby.
Sharks there breaking it down.
Yeah, so
breaking it down.
So I would do that. That was my job. And then that was actually, I got paid to do that. But then when you move the DJ system aside and now you have a microphone, it's just you and that mic, and people are going, you have nothing to say to us. You are not a person of wisdom. I remember standing there, and what I call this is psychological nudity. You're standing and you're like, so there are 7 things about sales. And then you've read these stupid books that are wrong, and they go, look for an exit. So check it out. I go, the people are right here. I'm looking at you, but instead of looking at you, I look up and I go, there are 7 things you should do to become
Deer in the headlights.
an effective
I hope you are watching on
salesperson.
Facebook Live so you can see
There are 7
his
things.
face is great.
And then you never make eye contact because that makes you nervous. You go, 7 things. And so thing number 2, you skip one because you're nervous, and then you hold the paper and you go, success, and you're just shaking the paper, and all of a sudden your voice starts to quiver, and you go, so success, and then you get nervous, so your armpits start to sweat, and you start to get that energy, and you start to get that one little nervous sweat, that little bit on the lip, and you start to go faster, and so you go, and so there's 7 things we want to talk about success today, and that's what it is, and you start to move back and forth because you start to do a little James Brown, and you start to. And hi. So you can't modulate your voice anymore. And you're like, there's 7 things we're going to talk about for success. And there's 1. I get nervous sometimes and I sweat. Success principle number 1. Whoa. And people are like, you are having a meltdown. You think you got stung by a bee and you're allergic to bee stings.
I hope they got to see that on Facebook Live. It was great.
It's
I
bad.
hope so.
That's what happens. That's what happens as a speaker if you're not in control of the situation. Vanessa, you had something you were going to add.
I always feel like, I have not spoken nearly as many times as you have, and so I can relate to that really nervous feeling. I feel like you're a pro. You just go in there, and when I've spoken on, like I said, Aubrey's Healing.
Real quick, our son, if you want to Google it, because this is the law of credibility, we always do it on the show. I never say anything you can't prove. My son, his name is Aubrey Napoleon Hill Clark. As a matter of fact, he was born blind. He couldn't see. That was his deal. He couldn't see, and now he can see. So you say, what? It's like for some of you, because you're like, I don't like it when you use the word healing. He was blind.
like
Now
it.
he can see.
Yeah.
My wife says it's a miracle. I do believe it's a miracle, but we have a show where we're just talking about facts and
Yes.
business. I don't want to turn you off because you're like, you're a miracle guy. You're one of those holy rollers. There you go again. He was born blind. Now he can see.
And it was
Vanessa's-
medically documented,
Yes,
right?
and
that he was
Vanessa
born blind.
speaks about it.
Yeah.
I
often.
wrote a book. Now I see. And so, anyways, long story short, in the past year, I started speaking about it, and it was very scary for me because I don't have a lot of experience public speaking, but I was passionate about the story, and it was easy for me to tell the story because it's my truth. But what always made me nervous was time periods. People saying, well, you have 45 minutes to speak, or we're going to give you an hour to speak. That is something you have to have so much preparation for, and you help me with that, but that scares me every time.
And here's the deal. Right now, we have 52 seconds until we go to an incredible break here.
right.
We have a great commercial from some wonderful advertisers who we highly endorse, all of them.
Yes,
Great
yes,
people
yes.
for sponsoring this great show. But I'm going to give you a notable quotable, and I'm going to end right on time, okay? So here we go. Today is life, the only life you are sure of. Make the most of today. Get interested in something. Shake yourself awake. Develop a hobby. Let the winds of enthusiasm sweep through you. Live today with gusto. That's Dale Carnegie. That's the guy who his speaking course, okay? Dale Carnegie, his speaking course is what Warren Buffett credits as having changed his life. When we get back, we're going to be talking about principle number 6. Principle number 6, fill your talk with the quad in familiar words. Fill your talk with the quad in familiar words. You heard?
You're listening to the Thrive Time Show on Talk Radio 1170.
Hello and welcome back to the Thrive Time Show during your drive time home. Many of you are driving right now. You're in your car. Maybe some of you refer to it as your coche because you're bilingual. You're in your coche. You're headed to your, what would we call it, your casa. Or some might call it your home, and you're almost there, and you're going, why do I need to listen? What are you going to say in this next segment that's going to be worth listening to? I've got things to do, buddy. Well, we're talking today about the 6 moves to become the most effective speaker possible. Now, if you Google my name is Clay Clark. I'm the former SBA Entrepreneur of the Year. Yahoo referred to me as the Jim Carrey of public speaking. I don't know, I'm a little more Jim Gaffigan-y than more of Jim Gaffigan-y than Mr. Carrey. But I've spoken for Hewlett Packard, Maytag. I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars speaking because I know what I'm doing. And the thing is, I'm going to teach you the moves. I'm teaching the final moves. These are the very specific moves that are going to help you become the best speaker you could possibly be, whether you're a pastor, whether you're a motivational speaker, whether you're an office leader, whether you're a manager. I'm giving you the moves, okay? So 1, fill your talk with the quad and familiar words. You heard? So here we go. Familiar words. I'm going to start there first. Familiar words. Don't fill your speech with jargon. It is nothing is worse than somebody who's speaking down to you using nomenclature and a plethora of words, a thesaurus, if you will. See, we have to say these words when we become speakers. A thesaurus, if you will. Who says that, if you will? If you will. I mean, stop. You say it if you're a speaker, though. Today I'm talking about a plethora of words and a virtual thesaurus, if you will. And the thing is, no. Be real. Be authentic. Don't talk like that because no one wants to hear that. We all need communication means you've reached a common union, and communication has not occurred until both parties understand what is being taught. They have to understand you, otherwise you're just talking at them. So, Sharita, you've been to many church services. Vanessa, you've been to many church services. What happens when the pastor starts talking about the intertestamental period and he begins talking about things that you're not aware of and various nomenclature and you don't have any idea what he's talking about? What starts to happen to you? Vanessa, for 500 points, boop, boop, what happens to you?
Unless he does a fantastic job about getting us up to speed about where he's at, everyone's lost. No one can connect.
And then you start to do what, though? What do you actually physically start to do once you
check
realize,
out. You check out. You disconnect. You
So
stop
I start
listening.
to go, I wonder what time it is.
Yeah, I'm hungry.
Lift
Look
it.
at what's going on over there. Look at that person.
Itch.
Yeah.
These pants, I've got to stain on these pants. I didn't even know that.
What am I going to eat for lunch?
Oh my gosh, there's
Yeah.
Carl. I think Carl. Hi, Carl. Oh, God. Then all of a sudden,
Second
someone's.
and watch.
Or
Yeah.
you start to do the drift move where you pretend not to sleep. Here's the hot move where you go. And you just kind of.
It's the worst.
And you
jerk
pretend
awake.
like you're not. You jerk awake. You're not pretending like you're not sleeping. If you're on Facebook Live, you can see it. But what you do is you kind of go. And then all of a sudden you realize. This is what happens. You realize you go. oh no,
That's every humanities class.
I have been asleep.
And you don't know how long you've been asleep.
Yeah.
That's the scary part.
And you look around and you're like, I'm cool. And they're like, no, you're not. You've been asleep for like an hour or 2 seconds. You don't know. You know what I'm saying? So if you're a speaker where that's happening routinely, figure it out. You got to wake that audience up. Now, how do you wake them up? I'm going to tell you. Talk about something that interests them. See, that's the thing. See, now you're offensive. But no, you have to talk about the things that impact them.
Yeah.
So, example, if you're talking to a bunch of people who they're an organization that's dedicated to marathon running. So picture a bunch of really thin people who run a lot. And you get up there and go, today we are going to talk about the powerlifting. What you got to do is you got to do the hack squats and the biceps, and you want to do, I call the Arnold press, which is that's like a curl and then a shuttle press. And what you want to do is and they're going, I don't know what he's talking about. Do you guys know where my power bars are? When are we going to get some kale? Is there kale here? Hey, where are my yoga pants? We got to focus on the biceps and they're just drifting off because they're wanting to talk about their New Balance shoes,
their Asics,
and their
They don't
Asics,
care.
Lululemon pants. They don't care.
Yeah.
They're drifting. They don't want to hear. You got to focus on what they want to talk about. Okay. So here's how you do it. One, you have to have those statistics we talked about. It's called the quad. Those statistics that are impactful. So if I'm speaking to a bunch of marathon runners, I'm going to say, did you know that back in, I'm going to say the year, I'm just making it up, but back in 19 whatever, the record for the fastest marathon was X amount. And that record had stayed for hundreds of years. But then one day, who was the guy? He actually broke the record, and he was able to run it this fast.
Yeah.
And then that following year, this many people broke it. So today we're talking about breaking through, because back in the day, that was a record that people thought would never be broken, but it was, and then everyone broke it. It became the new norm. We're talking today about breaking through big barriers. Now that you've connected with them.
I was just so into that. Were you?
Yeah,
I hope
yeah.
people can
Get
see
my
you on
attention.
Facebook Live because you're being dynamic. Even though you're just giving that example, you're passionate about it. You're being
And
dynamic.
that's one of the things I think he gets from speaking and from studying it so much. Whenever you speak, if it's to a group of 200 or to a group of 5 people in front of you at the office, he uses his whole body. He's physical. He's a
True.
physicality to him. He is dynamic. And that's obviously you all can't see that on the radio, but that's part of your public speaking.
I'm going to play this sound clip here. This is from my favorite speaker, a.k.a. linebacker, Ray Lewis. So I'm going to play this little sound clip. Here we go.
Tonight is about each other. Tonight is about relentless football. And anything about to touch the football can't get knocked out tonight. Let's do what we do best on 3. 1, 2, 3.
He would pump up and inspire that team, and the Ravens had this unbelievable defense for years. But Ray, he was ready to go.
Yep.
And the final year he played, he had a Bible verse that he just kept talking about how nothing, formed against him shall prosper. He's going on and on talking about how there's nothing that can stop him and just nothing. And he had this verse he gave the whole team. He was sold out to the vision. He kept telling them, this is our year. And he would say it with such passion that this thing called enthusiasm began to occur. Now, enthusiasm, again, for those of you who've maybe heard this before, I always tell you because you need to know this. The word theos, it's the Greek word for God, right? Theos is God. So enthusiasm means God within. So God is within you. So imagine that God, the creator of the universe, was inside you. Now go talk.
Yeah. And I love how this ties back in. All these steps are connected because with Ray having that verse and that intention, he's like step number 1, predetermining what our success is going to look like. I love that.
Absolutely. Now, moving on here is the quotes. You got to have quotes. If you're a pastor, you got to have verses. You got to have quotes. You got to have people who are more intelligent than yourself or more known or more credible than you teaching the principle. So I'm going to hit you up with a notable quotable right now just to demonstrate the power of the notable quotable. Dale Carnegie. Who's Dale Carnegie? He is the man. He is the founder of the Dale Carnegie Institute. He started the program that Warren Buffett, by the way, one of the world's largest investors, he said this program, which made him billions of dollars, he said this program was the single most impactful course he's ever taken, the Dale Carnegie Institute on public speaking. Dale Carnegie, the founder of that, says, practice, practice, practice. And speaking before an audience, this will check it out. This will tend to remove all fear of audiences, just as practice in swimming will lead to confidence in water. You must learn to speak by speaking. Oh, that was sick. That was sick. I want to go vaccinate myself. That was awesome. So Dale Carnegie's talking about practice, practice,